Welcome to the Blooming League of Original Podcasts.
G'day and welcome to a partly politicised broadcast of Thrash and Treasure, the Torture Chamber musical comedy podcast which serves up a weekly democracy sausage that tastes like bitter defeat in bread, probably because we sound like chicken. And speaking of inbred, I'm Aaron, and I'm joined as usual by the leader of the opposition. Who needs friends when you've got your own enemy? Because it's Evan the Metal Man. How you doing?
Writhing in pain from your puns.
Well, you could have been my arch nemesis, but that was too hard to say. Or my evantagonist. Actually, that's a bit easier. I should have said that one. But anyways.
Antagonist. I like that one. That's better.
Evantagonist, yeah.
Go with that.
Okay, well, quickly, earlier I was having a Vegemite roll and I bit my tongue and straight away a dollop of Vegemite landed on the bone and I
he screamed.
And I'm like, ow, what a loser. That's what I screamed. Like my neighbors would have just heard me go, what a loser. So I'm a little bit delirious from the tongue bite, I think, because that was painful. For international listeners, Vegemite is pretty much salt and yeast.
In a spread, yeah.
That's what it was, a big dollop of it, because we're Aussies, we're greedy about our Vegemite.
Funnily enough, literally just made a Vegemite sandwich like 5 minutes ago.
Well, I got 3 bites into my roll. I am so hungry, so if it disappears, you know it was me. But anyways, guess what?
What?
We have another British diva up in the comedy chamber today, and luckily, because I was getting bored of heckling Evan, so I invited an unsuspecting friend to the slaughter. Because this cuddly comedian is one of the hardest working comedians in the UK, with his acclaimed Edinburgh shows, various tours, multiple stints on TV, writing for publications such as Metro and Empire magazine, plus a partridge in a pear tree. Once you meet this rebel rabble-rouser, you'll agree he is indeed ripe for our torturing, muhaha, especially after riding on the hairy back, of the late and legendary Robin Williams. Oh, he followed that up by having his own hairy back, shaved by the iconic Gillian Anderson. What? Butter and Blade bluntly shaved the way for this dashing dude to dwell in his cell on CBB's The Slammer, where a studio stacked with screaming students set him free so they'd not be subjected to his rubbish art anymore. His words, not mine. I would not have used art. And smartly enough, this energetic entertainer elevated this experience into the entrepreneurial arena by co-founding the Kids Comedy Club, where he's turned his stand-up act into squat down comedy for the kiddies. So I'm not kidding when I throw a huge Aussie g'day and an are we there yet to the Big Brothers Big Mouth panelists that made me go, oh, okay, who's he? Who's gone on to write, cameo, guest, or star in various British TV titles such as Cupid's, Marshall's Law, Frankie Boyle's New World Order, and Fresh Meat. But today, like I said, he's fresh meat for our torture chamber. So please help me welcome my mate and the dad with the daddiest dad jokes that you ever did grown at, who can be heard ripping into politicians on his acclaimed podcast Pow Pow Bro, which translates to he's my bro from another show, but he's also the splendiferous Mr. Tiernan Douieb. Yay! Welcome to the torture chamber. How are you going?
That was incredible.
Thank
That was
you.
amazing. I generally, right, when people like, when I do gigs and they're like, how do you want to be introduced? I always go, with as little fuss as possible. Don't raise expectations.
Yep.
Don't make them think they're going to get something good. But that was pretty amazing. That's like everything. That's like the last 12 years of my life. I'd forgotten I'd done some of that. That was amazing.
Oh, I was actually going to finish that off with your name, This Is Your Life, because I know you're British. You would know that TV show, whereas Americans probably wouldn't know it as much. But I did say your surname right, because I was going to deliberately pronounce every vowel deliberately.
You said it perfectly, which is really impressive. Really impressive. It gets said wrong. I did a BBC radio interview the other day, and they've got my name on they have a thing when they have guests regularly, they have a way to pronounce your name that comes up on their screen, and they still said it wrong, so they're completely useless.
Screw up the phonetically.
That's exactly it. It's completely stupid. But at the same time, I'm the only. If you Google me, I'm the only me. So I feel like it's worth all the stress of having to phonetically spell my name every phone call ever, just so I
Yep.
can be Googleable. Also, I've got to give a shout out. You said you've got obviously you're giving all the props to Vegemite. Over here in the UK, we're Marmite fans. And
Yeah,
I don't know, I don't even but every Australian I meet would be like, Marmite, and most British people I meet are like not Vegemite. But I don't think they're worlds apart. They're sort of like siblings, like estranged siblings.
Well, yeah, in New Zealand, I grew up on Marmite, and then we came here and we're force fed Vegemite. So
Right,
I got both of them.
right.
yeah. No, from what I can tell, I've never even opened a jar of Marmite
What?
because I don't dare. Marmite's runnier, and that just Vegemite's already a black paste. Like that's already a bit weird.
Yeah.
It's like eating thickened oil. But it does taste so good. But then when you make it runny,
Well, they brought out like a special Marmite. They brought out like a special Marmite here that was like Marmite XO, and it's basically Vegemite. And then they messed up and brought out like a Marmite with chili in it, which was just not hot
Oh.
enough to be any good, but also didn't taste nice enough to be any. So it didn't win either way. And it's like, why are you messing with this? People like it as it is. Leave it alone. But they wouldn't.
Yeah, you either like it or you don't. You can't just add hot and get new customers.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. True story.
yep. Just that. Lastly, on your surname, it's funny. I've said on the show before that those introductions do take a lot out of me to do. No matter how much I practice, I'm short of breath by the end of it. So I really don't care what anyone's name is. It's nothing personal against anyone. I just don't want to die.
I love that you set yourself up for intros that make you feel like you're going to die. I think that's a
yeah.
really positive thing to have in a hobby, in a podcast that you make for your enjoyment, to make it so painful for yourself.
Yes.
that you make.
You've known me for a while, Tiernan. You know how pretty self-loathing I can be.
It was fantastic. I thank you for it. And like I said, I'd forgotten I'd done some of those things. Some of them I dine out on regularly, but
I know Big Brother's not on your resume at all, anywhere, not on IMDb or anything. And I'm like, that is sly. I'm throwing that in there because
I got asked to do it. I don't even watch Big Brother, and I remember getting asked to do that, and I was like, well, does it pay? Yes. And I was like, well, I'll watch one episode, and then I just made it up. So it was a great time. I did meet, I'm trying to remember I met a famous British singer, well, like famous sort of 15 years ago doing it. I'm trying to remember who it was now. I can't even remember. Isn't that terrible? It was someone like Gabrielle, but it wasn't Gabrielle. Anyway, nobody listening to this will care, but it
No.
was still great.
people listening to this are hopefully they're broad-minded music fans overall, but they are, you'd think, metal and musical fans.
90% theatre nerds.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
I don't know what our demographic
Yeah.
is, to be honest. I have no idea. I have no idea, really.
Yeah, and the odd person who's Googled Iron Maiden and hit upon an episode and gone, what is this?
Yeah, but every time not every time, but so often when I invite a guest on, get told I'm not a fan of either genre, so I don't know if they'll add anything, which is anyone listening to this, that makes you the perfect guest because you don't know the genres. That means we can run you through our gauntlet of torture and introduce you to things that you might learn something like I do every week and then forget about it afterwards. But it is the most common thing I hear is, and I think you even said it to me too.
Yeah, I haven't got a clue about either. I know there are some musicals I like, but my metal knowledge is extremely limited. To basically the things that my dad played me when I was little. He was big, so he was like a 60s, 70s metal fan. I remember he had a Black Sabbath, it must have been Paranoid vinyl, that had like weird trippy imagery on the vinyl, so as it spun round, he'd sort of carry me on my shoulders and I'd basically be hypnotized at the age of about 3 staring at it.
Yeah.
And that was quite incredible. But that's my knowledge. Is I've got some 70s metal knowledge, and then beyond that, nothing. It is absolutely not my jam. So what's happened?
You're talking about your dad introducing records, and while you were talking, I was hoping you would keep talking because I'm still in frame.
Oh, sorry. Well, I was gonna say musicals wise, there's like I'm very picky. There's certain musicals I really like, but then beyond that, I just don't know why people keep singing about stuff all the time. I just think, why don't you just You know, you don't need to sing about everything. It's a lot of musicals just seem to be people be like, "Can you have a biscuit? Oh yes, please." And you didn't need to sing that; just say it and piss off. You know, I get very bored of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
they did. Oh my God, you're breaking my heart. I've said it many times. My favorite musical theater lyric is "Pass the sugar, please. I dreamt last night we flew to China." It continues. Your parents owned a car, don't they? Won't they drive away?
What's that from?
God, I'm trying to think. I should know what that's from too.
We did it only just recently.
I know.
It's from In Trousers.
In Trousers, yeah. I had Whizzer in my head. I would have got it.
Right. Okay.
I'm backing him up. There's plenty of musicals where they just sing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, rather than metaphors to move the story forward, they're literally, I'm writing a letter.
Which is rubbish, right? But there's that. My big gripe are those ones, the ones that are really boring, and the other ones are the ones where they've gone, we've got 8 songs by this pop band, let's form a story around them, even though there isn't one and no one cares. But on saying that, I just want there to be more like ones with bands, like either go the other way. So I really want to write a musical like based on the songs of Rage Against the Machine, where they go really tenuous, and it's like there's a kid who just won't tidy his room, and his mum's like, tidy your room, and he's like, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. And then like the orchestra and the choir backs up, or like there's a scene where he gets shot and goes to hospital, and the doctor's like, what is it? He's got a bullet in his motherfucking head. You know, that's what I want. Like, I want it to go, it's got to either be really silly and know it, or, like Jerry Springer the Opera was brilliant. That was just a lot of operatic swearing. I loved that. That was great.
Yes, it was.
What did you give that, Evan?
I gave it a -7 for the 7th layer of hell that it belonged on.
You bastard.
Yeah.
Just quickly, you're talking about vinyls your dad introduced you to. I've got an original Buddy Holly vinyl that my dad's had for donkey's years, and I found it and I put it in my room, and I have no idea where it's gone in that couple of weeks.
Wow. And it's an original one. It's probably
around somewhere.
Highly valuable.
Oh, yeah.
And you've lost it under detritus.
Yeah, but anyways, so we'll move on to the metal anyways, now that I've confused myself and lost a really probably expensive vinyl.
How hard did you bite your tongue?
I did really hard because I was listening to music at the time, and I was listening to Singing in the Rain, and Moses Opposes came on, which we'll get to that. And that's one song it's a tongue twisting song. So of course I'm going to be singing along to it, but you shouldn't talk while you're eating. And I learned that now as a 37-year-old. Anyways, now I know that obviously you do a political podcast. I have this novelty hammer to beat myself over the head if either of you start talking about politics.
That's absolutely fair. Well, I know nothing about Australian politics other than that your Prime Minister once shot himself in a McDonald's. I think that's the only knowledge I've got. So,
which one was that? That current one?
Yeah, Scott Morrison shot himself in a McDonald's, apparently. I should say allegedly or apparently, so you don't get sued. But beyond that, my Australian politics is very limited.
Yeah, no, it's a circus. They're all the same.
Thankfully, I don't have normal free-to-air TV turned on at all, so I don't see any political ads. There is a campaign on at the moment. There's an election coming up in a few weeks, and all I know of it is that Scott Morrison just gave us $250 for a vote. He's trying to buy votes.
Wow.
And he just sort of went, everyone on a disability pension or a parent's pension, you can all have $250 just because. So we spent it on vinyl.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm still not voting for him.
Yeah, good. That's the way forward. Excellent.
It's going to take more than $250, Gomo. I'm sorry. I have a price. That's not it.
That is both really crappy. Like the idea of buying someone's vote is terrible. But at the same time, I really wish our government would try and buy our votes. I'd really like 250 quid. I wouldn't Vote for them, but I'd just like someone to give me 250 quid. I'd really like that. Yeah.
From what we hear, it will pay better than the British entertainment industry. But
yeah,
that's another story. We're getting political. I've had this one for years, but the other one, the dog shat on it. So I was so disappointed because I had 2 of them and I had them there like Thor's hammer, and they fell off the shelf and I didn't pick them up. And then the dog shat on one of them.
Wouldn't it be Pink Floyd's hammers? My first thought. If I had 2 hammers,
either way, it's pretty communist, isn't it? Anyways, let's move on. We're going to move on to the metal. This since we were on that and then we segued away from it. Now, do you have much experience with heavy metal? I know you said that before, you don't. So, firstly, what would be in your ultimate?
We'll just edit that around.
Yeah, we'll edit around that. I've had very little
fine.
sleep. We had a recording last night, which I've been trying to edit in time to get it out by the end of the month.
Yeah, and now you've got blood infused with Vegemite, I think, which
I
is sort of
do.
causing all sorts of reactions. Yeah.
I do. So, anyways, what was the question I had asked? Oh, what would be in your ultimate rockstar rider?
In my ultimate rockstar rider. That's an amazing. Do you know what? I've always wanted. Did you ever see, like, years ago, Steve Martin was touring with his banjo band, comedian Steve Martin, and they made up like a fake rider, which was like the techie has to be called Lightning, and they always wanted a small Icelandic horse, and that's what I've always wanted. I want a small Icelandic horse in the dressing room with the techie called Lightning. That is 100% what I would like. Yeah, and crisps, a lot of crisps. Or slash chips. What is it? Is in Australia they chips? Or
Chips.
crisps?
Yeah.
Chips. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
But well.
Yeah. I think you're the only ones who say crisps.
Yeah, we are. But they're crispy. That's why it makes sense. Come on. They're not chippy. They're crispy. Anyway, look, I could argue about this for a long time, but I'd have immense amounts of crisps and an Icelandic horse on my rider. But the horse would have to be kept separate to the crisps because if that horse ate my crisps, it is out. Yeah. And I don't want it anymore.
Yep. No, that's fair enough.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. I think I'm quite easy for. Normally, I just ask for water, so this is a real step up.
On both dates and in dressing rooms, don't touch my fucking chips. Anyways.
Or my Icelandic horse.
It's very true.
This week, Evan chose the album and he chose Anthrax. So I'm going to quickly read through my review.
Go on in.
And see how we go. I'm so intimidated, Tiernan. I know I've made you laugh enough times over the years to know that you find me funny, but it's like having Adam Richard on, you know, even like Daniel Franzese, I know does stand up, but I wasn't intimidated. But you and Adam, I'm like, oh right. Shit.
You shouldn't be intimidated. We are generally just social outcasts that, you know, there's always something. If for us to do comedy, it means there's something highly wrong with us.
Oh yeah. Freaks of society gravitate towards each other. We learned that last night recording Rocky Horror. So anyways, when I first saw the cover and realized it was Anthrax, I exclaimed, finally, Evan's putting me out of my misery once and for all, only to realize this is the metal band. Damn it. Sigh. I guess I better give it a listen. So I powdered my hopes and kicked off the great SPO of the Tiffy, and the first and most titular track, Among the Living, began. And out of all the tracks on this album, this was indeed the first track. Caught in a mosh pit had a punk sound, so should be called Caught in a Slam Pit, eye twitch. But why 5 minutes long? Double eye twitch. By the end of this marathon, my brain had turned into mosh. I am the law began. Uh-oh, nerd alert. I don't mean to judge, dreading metal and the policey. Oh, what? Oh, I was meant to say police, but I wrote policey just to be stupid. I don't know why.
Can't spell.
No, I like to play with words, clearly. I don't mean to judge. Dreading metal and the policey just comes naturally to me. And whilst I'm reminded of past guest and friend of the chamber, Adam Richard. Oh, my God, fathers. My fingers are, I think, moisturized. I've never been into Judge Dredd, but give me Judge Judy any day. Heck, I'd even settle for Reinhold. Effin' Nicky Fetson, in parentheses, NFL, had me daydreaming of NFL players. Thick necks. Touchdown, 5 stars. When I first heard Skeleton in the Closet, I couldn't really relate. I realized back in the 90s. Oh, fuck, I'm old. 1 star. Indians, the song was a song and was very songy. And no doubt, Evan, what? Have I? Oh, I've done something.
Clearly.
Oh my God. Yeah, and I didn't get a chance to practice. I'm so sorry, Tina. At least it's in front of someone I know and not to downplay you or anything, to disrespect you. It's just comfortability is what I'm saying.
Hey, I've never directed the Muppets, so it's fair. It's very fair.
I don't know why I've written and no doubt Evan. Because the
and
next
what? Nothing on the other side.
No, the next page is, they're both numbered 3.
2 page 3s.
I've done 2 page 3s instead of a 4. And I wasn't even suffering from my tongue bite at the time. And this is all definitely going in the episode because it just makes me look like a fucking idiot. Anyways, Indians, the song was a song and was very songy. And whilst the rah-rah-rahs played out in both music and vocals, it opened with potential for something more melodic than the rest of this ultimately timely track, which speaks of apathy towards the treatment of Native Americans. The story is sadly universal. It is a shame only the song's chorus has any sort of hook or clarity. One World was next, and shit turned or kumbaya, but with rah-rah-rahs kind of expecting Bono to pop up at any moment. Coming up next was Medley 80. Wait, I think I went to school with her. The horror of it all. Lastly, Imitation of Life. What does that mean? Like a zombie? Depression? The Kardashians? No, that's Imitation of Human. I mean, this is like the rest. Oh my God. This is like the rest are good. Certainly not bad at all. Not really great. But not what I was expecting, which is very good, but not quite enough melodic bops to let me breathe in. 3 stars. Oh, let me breathe Anthrax in, not Anthra. It says Anthra. I'm sorry, I've completely bungled that one.
We'll fix that in post.
I do so well in this show. Oh my God.
That was great. I enjoyed that a lot.
Thank you. Well, whenever I know a guest beforehand, like from Twitter or whatever, I'm always a little bit more like, don't fuck this up. Even like the legends, there's still that pressure, but for some reason I'm so calm. Aren't I, Evan? Like I do really well with them, even if I'm really excited and things are going wrong. I never fuck up like that unless I've like left a page across the room or it was written on the back.
Yeah, but there's something worse about people. You know, I've got it with like gigs. If there's people I know in a comedy gig, I always think, well, if I disappoint them, they're going to be able to remind me of it.
Exactly.
Whereas if it's an audience I don't care about and I don't know, if I bomb, they're like, well, they're not going to text me later and tell me how much they hated it. So I don't care. There's a lack of caring about it. It's an incredible hole that you're digging. It's brilliant.
It is. Let's move on. Let's move on. So I don't know. There was so many times that this album would slip into a melodic moment, but there was just so much rah 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 all the way through.
We could go a lot more rah if you like. This is I wouldn't call it a rah rah rah, but
Well, it was a bit. The music was very thump thump thump.
yeah.
You can't have something called metal and then it be quiet. Like metal's not an unnoisy substance, is it? Like you wouldn't, you know,
No.
you don't think of like, oh, I need a really soft, quiet like cushion. I'm gonna get a metal one. Like you buy metal for noise stuff. It makes sense. I loved it. I really enjoy it, but I want the intro to Among the Living when I just enter buildings.
Yeah.
I just want to like walk in a door and that's what plays as I walk in. Even just like the supermarket, I want that beginning bit of Among the Living to play as I walk in pretty much everywhere I go. That's what I've decided now. I'm sold on that.
Get a boombox and put it on your shoulder. And
Yes, it's a really good idea.
cassettes are coming back. VHSs are coming back. Someone's opening somewhere in the world, I don't know where, a VHS store.
Yeah, they're becoming collectible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
People hunt down, just like vinyl, they want, specific region copies of certain films are more collectible than others. And once things become rare, people will collect them.
And once their VCRs
weird.
chew the tape,
Yeah.
they're going to scream and shout and wonder why they spent this money.
Oh, you can't play them.
Well, what's the point?
You just want to have them.
Oh, I've got heaps of them. I could probably make lots of money.
Because there were all these like bands that were releasing limited singles on like a cassette recently, and it's like, why would you want
It's cheap. It's cheap. Self-producing. It's cheap.
It is cheap.
Yeah.
And if they break, you can fix them with a pencil.
And stick it in there and twist it around.
That's it.
But they'd also be like 45 minutes or 60 minutes. Like,
And the sound was rubbish. I mean, compared to now, like if you were to go back to listen to cassette tapes, you'd just be like, what is this? This is horrific.
I actually want to. I've asked Evan to help me
Yeah,
from Perth.
what?
I got a cassette tape from my kindergarten where we all sing songs and line up and say our names and all that.
Right.
There's a bit of rock in it, and I don't know how to open it up because I'm too stupid. Anyways,
You get some little glasses screwdrivers and off you go. Although some tapes are glued together, and then you need a backup case. You have to break it open and replace it into something you can sacrifice. It's pretty easy. It really is. It really is.
But it's still such an incredible. When you think about now, when kids are like, "I'll just download another one,"
yeah.
whereas like the effort then is I've got to re-glue it into a new like armor and then put and rewire the tape. Like, wow, the effort just to hear stuff again.
Yeah, no, I used to do it all the time. I'd record something off vinyl onto tape, and of course the blank tapes are 60 minutes long, and the album's only 45 minutes long. Oh, we'll cut that 15 minutes of tape off, so that it turns over in the car without a big gap.
You have always been a nerd. Oh
Yes.
my God, Father. Speaking of which, I put a 3-foot Ralph Wiggum on my wall today. And I asked Tiernan before what his favorite 90s movies were, because I was hoping you would say one that I had the one sheet for. The closest I could come, though, was Scream 3, because you said
nice.
Scream. And I have the Scream 2 poster, but it's somewhere. I'll get onto that. Anyways, back onto the music, because this has been a car crash from me well before we even started up the Zoom. So anyways, yes. So Evan, why did you pick this album?
Because it's Anthrax is Among the Living, obviously.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I should have known. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, for me personally, it combines sort of everything I love. You got Judge Dredd, you got Stephen King, you got Poltergeist references in here. Well, the cover is clearly a dude from Poltergeist too. Preacher Kane, creepy.
Oh, really? Because I make
Yeah.
jokes about the cover, but I don't really look at it.
Yeah, there's actually 2 Stephen King references in this. And of course, the Judge Dredd you picked. And of course, today I have my Judge Dredd Anthrax shirt on that literally says, "I am the law."
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh my God, Father.
I told you I had a shirt for this one today. Yeah, Among the Living, the song itself is based on The Stand, talking about I'm the Walking Dude, who is Randall Flagg, who is Stephen King's main guy through The Dark Tower, and pretty much every bad guy he has is Randall Flagg.
Never seen it, never read it.
Oh, for God's sake. Obviously, I'm the Law
I'm
is...
sorry, I'm not the biggest Stephen King fan.
And it's odd to get an American band in 87 to write a song about Judge Dredd is kind of odd. The distribution wasn't there for the comics. 2000 AD wasn't really reaching the American market in the 80s. I mean, I had to special order it just from New Zealand and Australia. Skeleton in the Closet is inspired by your favorite film, Apt Pupil.
No, it's not my favorite film. I've never seen it.
Favorite book.
I've never read it.
I know you've mentioned it many times.
I've mentioned it because it's problematic. The director, went to court. That's the whole thing. I've never seen it. I know Brad Renfro was in it and Ian McCallum. I know all of it. It was, out in the 90s during my 90s horror phase. I've just pulled out a bloody Scream 3 poster. So clearly I had one, but I never saw it.
Oh, well, it's excellent. And it's one of my favorite novels as well. Yeah, it's kick-ass.
Bryan Singer disappeared. He disappeared halfway through making Bohemian Rhapsody. That's why half of that movie is so different.
Oh, okay.
Wow. You go halfway through it and they just...
Yeah. It's a whole thing.
But yeah, Anthrax, I chose Anthrax because, for God's sake, we've got to get around to doing Anthrax. They're part of the big 4.
Are they?
Metallica, Megadeth,
Never heard of them.
Slayer, and Anthrax. They were the big 4 bands of, early 80s.
I had no idea what Anthrax was until after 9/11 happened, and it was a whole thing.
Yeah, that was an issue as well. They did consider changing their name. And apparently the story goes, Scott Ian, who's the main guy, is the bald guy with the long goatee, who's just an absolute legend. He's the rhythm guitarist. He's been there since day one and is still there now. He's the only constant member. The story goes that he actually went down because they are New Yorkers. He went down to Ground Zero and met, some first responders who were just kind of standing around. They're like, oh, and recognized him and sort of went, "Don't you change the name of the band, man. Don't you dare. Don't let them win." So they stayed Anthrax, even though all of a sudden everyone associated it with other things.
Well, it's more that awkward of people ordered their stuff in the post and it came you've got Anthrax in the post. That would have been the issue, wouldn't it? It's the postman going, "I've got a delivery of Anthrax for you."
Yeah, and then you got posters on the wall, Anthrax, May 1st.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. Doesn't look good.
Yeah. And of course, I chose Among the Living because it's the first album with Joey Belladonna singing, who they've gone through a few different singers, mainly Joey and John Bush. There's sort of different eras, but he's back in the current lineup is now Joey singing again with Scott Ian. I think the rest of them have all come and gone over the years. They've gone through a fair few members.
What happens? They all just not get along and then fall out and then all get along again.
Yeah, they have been riddled with tragedy. They've had like brothers. They had a I've been trying to track it down who it was. It was a close friend was shot, and the assailant was never found. They had another friend was literally shot on stage in another band, but he had played for Anthrax as well. I freaking didn't have the notes on his name, but a fan literally went up and shot the guitarist in the head on stage, and 4 other people. And ever since then, the Anthrax, bands themselves changed. Like, you don't come on stage anymore. That's when, from then on, security will just jump on you for many years.
What country was that?
It was in America, of course.
I mean, it's horrific, and it's so metal, and it's awful, but also feels like proper metal stories.
Yeah.
That this is how members have gone.
Yeah.
So at least it's on brand.
Many times the Anthrax have nearly broken up, and Scott Ian has just gone, nah, we're not quitting, and we'll carry on. They were recording Persistence of Time. I think it was about 2003 or something like that. The entire bloody studio burnt down. They lost everything.
Oh my God.
All their instruments, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of gear. And again, he's like, we can't give up now. We've got to keep powering on. So they are still going today. They're still one of the biggest, certainly speed metal bands in the world. Like I said, up there with Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax, Big Four. So we did Anthrax because we had to.
Hang on, I've got to ask, because I'm completely ignorant to this. What is the difference between speed metal and metal? Is other metal slower, or is it something else?
You could have, melodic metal. There's so many subgenres.
Right.
It's not funny. You have death metal and black metal and.
See, I know those ones. I just didn't know what speed metal. Is it just that it is faster? Is that why it's?
Yeah, pretty much. It's just
Right.
Yeah, way faster.
And that wasn't very fast.
As Aaron said earlier about the anger side, the mosh pits for Anthrax were renowned for being pretty brutal. And if you didn't come out with some kind of an injury, you just didn't try hard enough. They were bad. Yeah. Thankfully, I've never been in an Anthrax mosh pit. I have not been able to see them live, which sucks.
Well, please don't, because I need my co-host. Thank you very much. Goodness me.
Yeah. And they're pioneers. With the same year in '87, they released a single called "I'm the Man," where they were rapping, which is pretty much, as far as we know, one of the first instances of the mixing of rap and metal. And then I think it was a year later, they teamed up with Public Enemy to re-record "Bring the Noise." That was what really got them, worldwide attention. Bring the Noise was epic. They would then tour with Public Enemy, and then the show would finish with Public Enemy and Anthrax, the final song, singing together "Bring the Noise." And they did that, all around the country. Oh, geez, we should have been able to see that.
Public Enemy, I've heard of.
I'm glad you've heard of Public Enemy.
Chuck D and Flavor Flav with his
Flavor
giant
Flav.
That's it, yeah. I
clock medallion.
I wasn't going to say it was Axl Rose, because I know it's not Axl Rose. Anyways.
I'm really glad Axl Rose wasn't in Public Enemy. I feel that would have really ruined them as a group. Just the wrong vibes. Yeah.
He would have been fired pretty quickly just for being too drunk, constantly drunk.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
God, it's a broken record we hear on this show. Got fired for being drunk. I only heard it just last night.
Yep.
Goodness me. All the time. Yeah, look, I give them the respect, but I don't know.
Oh, they are legends. You just missed out on it, that's all.
I did. I've said it before, Metallica just had so many good songs that were so melodic, that were so sing-alongable, but still heavy metal.
And there again, this album was dedicated to Cliff Burton, the Metallica's bass player, who died, I think, about 6 months before it came out, something like that. Bus crash.
Oh, really?
Bloody bus crash.
This metal seems so dangerous. Yeah.
So they've been surrounded by death, unfortunately. Anthrax have not had a great run.
Their insurance policies must be so expensive. I just don't know how they'd get insured for anything. If you got everything you do ends up in some sort of awful tragedy, I don't know. You wouldn't be able to get any travelling insurance. It'd be terrible. Wow.
Tiernan, what would you give this album? Or what did you think overall?
I really enjoyed it. I'm not a metal fan, not for any reason other than I wasn't really it wasn't what I listened to as I was growing up, and I've got a mate who's a big metal fan who constantly tries to send me stuff to get into it. But I got into I was always into because I was big into hip hop and through that kind of Rage Against the Machine and that sort of side of things. But I like this. I like the music a lot. I think I prefer the sort of first half of the album to the second. That might just be because when I was listening to it, I had stuff to do during the second half, so I didn't pay as much attention. But I really like it. I think it's weird now, like you said, it's weird hearing tracks that are so long now. I think that's my problem, not the album's problem. Like, they're still good and they carry through the track, but I am just an impatient bastard with loads of stuff to do. So I sort of go, it's still going on. Like, it's not, it sounds bad. I'm not used to this. I'm so used to songs being quicker, and it's sort of rewiring my brain. It's going, no, it's fine. It's fine that it's 5 minutes. But I enjoyed it. I listened to it a couple of times since. Like I said, I think that right on the I liked Indians. I really like I Am the Law, but I like that intro, just the guitar that kicks in on Among the Living. Honestly, I could listen to that bit over and over again. It's awesome. And like I said, I want to walk on stage to that. It's brilliant. It's really cool.
That could be a WWE entrance song.
Yeah,
easily.
absolutely.
Yeah, that hits,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's really good. Really
Can't
good.
believe
Big fan.
wrestling just got brought up on my show in a non-homoerotic way.
Hey, it's hard to find good entrance music. An entrance music will define a career.
Welcome to musical theatre, Evan. Goodness me, but just on having a friend that always gives you things to listen to. In my past experience, every time I didn't like something, for some reason, the person always took it personally. They didn't make it. They're just a fan of it and wanted me to enjoy it, and I didn't enjoy it, and it ruined a friendship. So I try not to say that to people myself, but here I am on a podcast where we do it every episode. So,
well, I worked out this particular friend was another comedian, so shout out to Andrew O'Neill. And we would have very, very long car journeys to gigs, and the way we'd get through it was they don't like hip hop particularly, and I didn't like metal, and I would make them listen to one hip hop track, and they'd make me listen to one metal. We'd swapsies basically, and through it I learned quite a lot, and they learned quite a lot. So I felt like it was good. It was a good experience.
Now, is there anything else on Anthrax? I got the coffee burps.
They're awesome. I don't know how more I could explain that. They're just one of those bands that, like I said, they started 81. They're still going now. They're still sounding just as good as they always did. They're pretty much original lineup. They still put on a hell of a show. Obviously, COVID has stuffed everything up, but apparently they are planning on touring again with a new album at some point. And yeah, God, they're just legends. They're like I said, they're up there with your Metallicas and your Megadeths and Slayers. They're just one of those bands that can, fill a stadium 30 years later.
Yeah, I've never heard of them.
Kind of respect that. Never heard of Anthrax. Wow.
Yeah, sorry. Just on that Anthrax thing of wanting to change their name, right as COVID hit in 2020, I started watching Project Runway on Foxtel, and there was a contestant on there named COVID. And I just felt so sorry for the poor guy. It was with a K. He's from India or Pakistan.
Right. It's an unfortunate coincidence.
It was just an unfortunate coincidence because it was filmed the year before.
That's amazing. There was a stupid thing over here when because Corona beer just didn't sell for ages when coronavirus first hit. Because I think
that's right.
It must be the same. It's like you're an idiot. Just drink it.
These days they just take the vodka off the shelves with good reason, I might add.
Yep. Well, anyways, I think we can blow off Anthrax while I go powder my nose.
Coming this summer, winter, spring, or fall, the first ever musical theater sitcom, where you go behind the scenes of the latest West End show, the Fosse Forest Ballet.
Where's the important stuff? Aha! £1,000 a week ensemble rate. Ah, that's what Mamma Mia likes.
Starring Philip Joel and a West End cast featuring Carrie Ellis, Darren Day, Louise Demon, and Oliver Saville, and more.
It all started in 1987 when I was a jobbing actress working in a diner.
Yeah, it's just I had a really bad experience when I was touring Australia with a wombat.
Darling! Mwah, mwah.
La, la.
How long have I been mentoring you? 3 months?
2 years.
So her name is Henrietta.
The horse. Yes. I've managed to secure you an audition for the biggest, most innovative, and the latest show to be going into the West End. Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat. Think more along the lines of Pant.
Frozen.
You can watch this episode for the price of a coffee. Simply go to www.thefussyforestballet.com. Any and all profits go back to theatre charities, acting for others, and the Theatre's Trust. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and you'll see a grown man in sparkly tights.
Tight nights. Nice. Tights.
Anyways, we're back with Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron. That's Evan, and we are joined by my mate Tiernan Douieb.
I like that. You did it right the first time. That was more inventive,
damn
but I
it.
liked it. I enjoyed
Okay.
it. You added a sort of L in there. No, what do you know? What I got told recently that I've been saying it wrong my whole life. So
Oh, really?
yeah, well, because I'm a North London boy. I'm from an area called Finsbury Park, so I've always pronounced it Douieb, Tiernan Douieb. But my cousin has been researching our family history, and we think my granddad's parents were from Algeria, so it should be Douieb, right? But I've never said that because also I'd have got called Dweeb at school, so I'm glad I didn't do that.
But I'm a bastard for doing that to you. I'm so sorry.
I go for Douieb,
Out of-
Douieb, like that.
So it reminds me of like a word of power from Dune. Dune.
Oh no, we're bringing up Dune again. Oh no.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Triggered.
Every time you say it, someone falls over.
Every time you say it, part of my spirit dies.
I wish that was true. It would also explain why so many people mispronounce it for safety reasons. So it sort of brings a kindness to their crap understanding of my name.
Bloody nerds. Oh my goodness gracious me. But anyways, we're going to move on. Now, what would be your favorite Mondegreen or your favorite misheard lyric?
That's really good. Do you know what? I'm going to give you a really stupid one, right? For
Good.
ages, I genuinely thought, you know that song "Burn Baby Burn Disco Inferno," right? And it goes "Burn Baby Burn Disco Inferno, Burn Baby Burn," and then I think it says "Burn That Mother Down." And for some reason in my head, I always just thought it said "Walla Lubba Bang," and I don't know why. I don't know where I got that from. I always just thought they made up their own word and threw it in just for like fun because they just like, well, I want to say "Walla Lubba Bang," so for ages, for years. For years and years.
Yeah.
I'm really bad at lyrics. I've got no idea what most lyrics are, and I spend a lot of time as a student waking up my my friend who was in the room next door by playing like songs that he really hated and singing all the wrong lyrics to him at like 7 a.m. when we were both very hungover. So he'd really hate me, and I got very good at it. So yeah.
Well, what was that? Blinded by the Light, Evan? That I've always thought it was racked up like a douchebag
Yeah.
and you're over in the night.
Where it's
And I've always thought it was that, and it was Evan that told me no, it's not that.
Yeah.
I don't want to
It's like
know what it is. I don't want to know what it is. I'm happy with my douchebag. Hang on, that's taken out of context. That's a really awkward sentence. So we're gonna move on to Singing in the Rain.
That is a common one to get wrong, though.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Wrapped up like a douchebag. That's great.
Yeah, racked up like a douchebag. I don't even know what that means, but anyways, I enjoy it. Let's move on to Singing in the Rain, something else I absolutely love and enjoy, and I should have my DVD around here somewhere. Oh God, I just misplaced everything. I've got the 2 disc.
Of course, you have a copy.
Of course I do. That's right here. Singing in the Rain. I've got the 2-disc special edition, and it's got a audio commentary with Debbie Reynolds, Donald O'Connor, Sid Charisse, Kathleen Freeman, Stanley Donen, Comden and Green, and Baz Luhrmann.
Oh wow.
What's Baz got to do with it? Was he even alive?
This would have been, it was 2002. So this was probably right after Moulin Rouge. So he was, the big hot musical director at the time.
Yeah, it does feel a little bit like, oh, who's free? Basil did. Who we got left to do?
So, anyways, so I picked Singing in the Rain because it is a classic comedy. So I thought that would be a good one because we don't often do movie musicals. So, Evan, take the reins because I'm so delirious right now.
Obviously, I've heard of Singing of the Rain. Everyone's heard the song. It's another one of those that's broken out into the mainstream playlist, which is an achievement. There's only a handful of musicals that really do that, although it was a film first.
Okay, game on. But anyways, continue.
A handful, like a couple of handfuls out of the many hundreds of thousands of musicals. There's only really a few handfuls of songs that actually make it out.
It's like I always say, more than 2 handfuls is enough. Anyways.
Yeah. But I had never seen the film or watched the musical or listened to the songs other than Singing in the Rain.
Yeah.
I was surprised how funny it was. The film's hilarious,
Isn't it?
It's certainly with the way it's shot. There's stuff going on in the background all the time. All these sort of what do you call them? Extras are being funny. Donald O'Connor is a legend. Shame he's dead. I think most of these people are dead, unfortunately.
Only Rita Moreno of the credited cast is alive.
Yeah, there you go. There's one left.
And then there's one actress, I can't remember her name, who was uncredited, who's still alive.
Right, fair enough.
But as of the Wikipedia cast list, I did check them all.
As a musical, I don't think it really works. Mainly just because I found a lot of the songs don't really have anything to do with the story. They just start singing for the hell of it.
But that's because you're so used to this Sondheim impact.
Yeah, I mean, apart from like Good Morning, where they've been talking all night trying to save the show and they're singing about good morning, fine. But he sang in the rain just for the hell of it. He didn't have to dance in the rain. There was no need. He could have called a cab.
Okay, well, he brushed the driver away. Thank you very much. He tells him, go away. Like, fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. He chose to sing in the rain. Like, there was no need. It was not like he was stuck out somewhere and had to walk home and therefore decided to sing. Like, that's what I mean. The songs really can be played out of context. They don't really have anything to do with the story. Not to say the songs aren't bad. I'm just saying they don't really...
Aren't bad or aren't good?
I'm not saying that they're bad. Yeah, I'm not saying they're not good songs. I mean, Sing in the Rain is an absolute classic. It's a huge song. Make 'Em Laugh, I was surprised that I knew, even though I'd never seen the film, which again was, that's, what's his face, O'Connor again?
Donald O'Connor? What's his face?
I tried looking for a pro shot.
2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and you call him What's His Face O'Connor. 2 stars.
2? What's the second? I didn't realize Donald O'Connor has 2 stars. What's the second? Or what are they for? Oh, no idea. Just being that good.
Just Wikipedia telling me things that may or may not be correct. Should have looked. I rely on Evan to do the intelligent stuff.
You brought it up.
I do. I know lots about this, but I'm waiting for you to finish. Now, I'm surprised because this is one of the greatest films of all time on every list.
It's on the list. I thoroughly accept it's on the list. It's up there with your Dr. Zhivago's and
The Godfather.
Yeah, that top 10, top 20 films everyone should have seen. I should have seen it, and I now finally have. You brought up Moses Supposes. That's clever as hell, and really would take a lot of practice. What was that? Oh yeah, you were bringing up the one where he slams it, Make 'Em Laugh. Is that where he slams himself around the stage? Now I haven't seen the musical version. Do they do close to that?
Because either, but I did get into
I found high school productions and like college productions, but I didn't see a professional production. So if you throw yourself around like that 8 times a week, you're gonna end up battered and bruised consistently.
That's
I don't know. You'd have to employ some wrestling moves to not hurt yourself doing that.
No. You would have to employ a standby, obviously, but also they have an alternate for the really, really demanding roles. Like the really demanding roles, there's always an alternate that will do maybe 2 performances.
Fair enough. I was surprised, and I think the musical does it as well as the film. They literally hit the chorus of Singing in the Rain within the first 5 seconds of the film starting. We know what you're here for. Here it
Yeah.
is. And that, yeah, and I think they hit that tune because they reprise it and it's in the overture, and I'm pretty sure someone's whistling the tune as well. So the tune for Singing in the Rain appears at least 4 times in the musical. And by the time they're reprising it at the end, I'm sitting there going, okay, I get it. We came for Singing in the Rain, but we have already heard it. But yeah, no, it was funny. Obviously, the film, the dancing in the film, the choreography it's incredible. I'd be amazed how close the stage shows get to that.
I don't know. No one can dance like Gene Kelly now, can they?
No.
I don't know if anyone can. Like that, he was just incredible for it. Like,
yeah, and just the fact that his co-star is keeping up, spot on as well.
Yeah.
You sort of blur your eyes a little bit and watch them both at the same time, and they are perfectly in sync, right down to their fingers. Yeah. It's incredible.
Watch it with the sound off.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
All right, do that, and just watch his legs and watch his face, because Gene Kelly, especially, there's a reason why he's still looked up to and praised, because it was just so natural to him. And he was a bit of a taskmaster, but funnily enough, with just quickly with Donald O'Connor, in terms of casting the film, I mean, Gene needs to find someone who can live up to him, can keep up with him. And I think it was Donald said to Gene, I turn to the left, right? Because it turns on his right foot, so it turns to the left. And Gene says, so do I. And I think that's what got him the part, that they both turn the same way. So it's comfortable for them. So when you see one of them turn to the right, that's not their comfortable way of turning. But Gene was a taskmaster, very much so. His co-stars got bruised fingers along the way, Debbie Reynolds and Sid Charisse, because his grip was very tight and he was very much the lead dancer. And yeah, it was hard. But just lastly, that Singing in the Rain number, it's deceptively simple for something that is so incredibly iconic. The dancing in it, it's a bit intricate, yes, but nowhere near as intricate as what we get in the rest of the film. And I was watching it on silent after having watched it through with the sound up, and I was paying attention to it. The lighting isn't theatrical. It is very plain, because if you look at Rain in most films, the light is coming from the back, and it's usually very dark, right? Because they need to light Rain from the back. It won't show up on camera lighting it from the front. But here it did have to be lit. It was so, like, the whole scene was so bright, obviously done in a studio backlot. But back in 51, there was not the technology to create a storm or a fucking flood in the middle of the studios. Like, they had to create that piping system and put holes and stuff all the way through and create that rain. They had to make the puddles. They had to dig holes in the ground. And so it's deceptively simple. So when you watch it, it is very, very simple, but there is so much that went behind it. It is so technical. And even just when he leaps up on the post, how the fuck he doesn't slip off that, I will never know. I've always wondered as a kid, because I've never been able to leap over a gutter or anything like that without slipping over in the fucking rain. And
he's in tap shoes, so they haven't got like grips. They're not even good grippy shoes. It's properly skillful.
That's it. I don't know if he was in taps though, because usually they'll do that in post. Like I think they do it with their hands in post.
Do they?
Yeah.
So you mean they're not tapping? There's somebody in a little room with some spoons.
Yeah,
just tapping away. Yeah. Wow, that's shattered that for me. That's
yeah.
I was really thinking they were it was all recorded from the, I don't know, floor microphones or something, and they've all it's just a man in a room with a little pencil on a table or something.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Usually like his hands inside the shoes on a block of wood.
Oh, I see. So they are doing it in the right. That's little shoe hands.
See, I swear I noticed that in Rocky Horror. There's a little tap number, and she's flying across the stage in pirouettes. I'm going, that is not matching up with what I'm hearing.
No.
Well, I don't think they cared that much on that one, though.
No. Oh, it's camp and over the top. Yeah.
It was supposed to be over the top.
Oh, I think that's all I've got to say about Singing in the Rain. So that anyone listening to this, put it on silent. You will still laugh your head off, because we all know what happens in this movie. It's very simple, but the story is told so well that,
seems to be like the beginning of miming as far as I know. Well, telling the story of miming a show. Like I said, it was a lot funnier than I thought.
Yeah, well, it's also like the whole kind of tale of when Hollywood first went into sound, and how
Yeah.
that changed and killed the silent film industry. Like, it's got that amazing story to it.
John Gilbert. Yeah, John Gilbert was an actor who that happened to him. He was a big famous silent star, and when he went into talkies,
Yeah, having to make that
really
transition
cool.
to talkies. Yeah, I don't know how factual it is in general, with
oh no, it's
the whole microphone issues, and it sounds right though.
Yeah.
I think early microphones probably were crap and they were too big,
yeah,
yeah.
but also like
Almost
this
certainly.
was 51. Again, they didn't have the technology and stuff. When you watch it on silent, pay attention to that ballet, because there are no strings attached to her shawl. That is fans. And you can sometimes see the shadows on the ground of the crew moving the giant fans around, but they had to move them and angle them in time to the music so that like it will rise up with the crescendo and stuff like that. It is masterful, the filmmaking behind this. But again, it's not like the Wizard of Oz where we're transported to a fantasy world. So obviously there's lots of techniques being used that they're going to blow our minds. This is a very simple story. It's very simply done, but so goddamn effective and so intricately done.
I love that bit though in the film where it's just like, and now it's Gene Kelly's little film he's put in the middle of this big film. I love that whole sequence, but it is so like, what's happened now? Oh, just a totally different story for, I know it's sort of their film that they make, but even then it does just feel like they were like, oh, we've got to fill 20 minutes. What have you got? Like, well, let's just do this. Like, let's do something completely different. But it's amazing. It's all amazing dancing. It works perfectly. But
Sorry, I was about to say that. Oh my God, this is another musical about putting on musicals,
yeah.
but it didn't quite end up that way. So
No.
I suppose in 51 it was like pre kind of meta. Like they probably got there first. You got to give them some credit for it. But yeah.
true.
But I also like Moses Suppose, which I think is one of my favourite. I just love it. I love the routine. I love the song. But essentially they just assault that guy. Like when you look at it now, it says you're like, you're essentially just assaulting this guy. Like you're really lucky you got away with that. In today's world, he'd have sued you. There'd be so many issues. Like,
so what did he do to you? He just standing there trying to teach proper enunciation, and he gets piled on with garbage and paper. Yeah, they're like,
it's
buddy.
pretty brutal.
Yeah, or just think about it if a choreographer or a director was to bruise their actors' fingers today, those actors would be on Twitter calling them out. And yet
that was my next point. I was quite surprised at the complete disregard for actors or stuntmen's safety.
Yeah.
Even like very early on, where all the call girls, or the dancing girls in pink come in as a group and do their show. And you can see everyone's throwing streamers, and they just keep throwing streamers, and they're covered in them. They're going to trip on them. There's this massive pile of streamers on the floor, and they just keep throwing more. And I'm sitting there going, someone is going to go ass up here. There's no way you can dance in this. If you look again, they're literally like Spider-Man has just ejaculated all over these kids. And they're trying to leave,
I mean, that's another problematic film that you've described there.
Yeah.
That's when Marvel Cinematic Universe collapses, when they do that.
Yeah, but all the stunt scenes as well. I'll just ride a motorbike off into a river. Like, yeah, I'm sure someone did just ride a motorbike off to a river. But there's no editing there. There's no green screen.
There is no jump cut, right? But there is when he goes into the house, there is a jump cut, so you can see that he's not actually in the house, right? It's a filmmaking technique. They used it in I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched all the time, that you just stand there still and they'll move something and then keep filming or whatever. Right? There is no jump cut when he goes off the cliff, and the guy, you watch him, he prepares himself for that landing midair, and that's very much what it was like. Look, I think it was Buster Keaton, whichever, dropped a house on him.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the big panel falling forward. Yeah, there's so many ways that can go wrong. Yeah, and there's
back then they were ballsy.
Yeah, well, also, didn't Gene Kelly just do all his own stunts? He did all his own stunts and he just did everything. And now I don't think you'd be allowed to let someone do that, let alone if they want. I suppose Tom Cruise does it, doesn't he? He does his crazy sort of jumping a bike off things. Yeah.
Gene Kelly was very much like that. A lot of them were back then.
Oh yeah. The stunt department back then was just very bare bones, and a plane into a house, sure thing. Let's go. Got a plane?
Yeah.
Got a barn? Let's do it.
There's also like celebrities then just must have felt so untouchable. Like I couldn't imagine Gene Kelly in a world now where you could just go on Twitter and say that bit of dancing was shit, mate. Like you couldn't, he was so like his whole presence was so like properly legendary. Here is here is a star. He can sing and dance and do all his own stunts. Like it just sort of felt at a time when celebs were properly like, well, they were talented for a start. You weren't just celebs, but also like properly untouchable.
That's it.
Amazing.
That's I kind of miss that people actually had talent and we had to hear about them all the time.
So yeah, basically summing up, I think I've got to give 2 scores here, because the movie has got to be an easy 5 out of 5. It's just it's on that list of movies that everyone should have seen in order to participate in modern society.
Yeah.
The musical though, give it a 3.
Maybe if you saw it live.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think if you take the music out of the film and just listen to it as an album, like I said, that my earlier point is the songs don't really seem to relate to the story in any way. It's just something to sing about.
Yeah, but that's what it was like back then.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to move the story along, but you at least be relevant, like about what's happening on the screen.
Yeah, I think you've got to have the film with it, though, haven't you? You've got to have the film with it. It just it doesn't feel.
But
the
also,
same.
it is a jukebox musical in a sense, because those songs were pre-written.
Yeah, it's all about the songs.
Yeah.
You've got to allow the two things to exist together and not go, well.
Yeah. Make 'Em Laugh was written for the film, but there's a dispute, or there's not a dispute. What had happened was it's very much the same as Be a Clown by Cole Porter.
Oh, okay.
But he didn't sue, so. But everyone would agree that it's Make 'Em Laugh and Be a Clown are the same song.
Yeah. Most of the songs all sort of stand alone by themselves too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like the song doesn't make any sense outside of the musical, and vice versa. Like you could watch an edited copy of this without any music in it and would still tell the same story. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Dare.
I'd love to see that actually be like the 15-minute roundup of Singin' in the Rain without Singin' in the Rain in it.
The fucking Quentin Tarantino remake of Singing in the Rain.
Everybody dies at the end.
Yeah. God help us all. I love this. Look, I would love to see it live myself. I missed out on it. My theatre class went to see it when it was in Melbourne, and at the time though I was enjoying the punk scene too much, and so I had taken a bit of time off going to theatre class on a Saturday morning after a Friday night at the pub, so I didn't get to see it. So I always kicking myself for that I missed out on about 4 or 5 months of theatre class, because
I saw like I never saw the musical version, but I saw a sort of like a kind of like it was like a ballet kind of version, and it was good, but it wasn't. I wanted all the tap dance stuff.
Is there a pro shot anywhere, like on Broadway HD or anything like that?
Probably not.
No, there's just multiple high school and college and local theatre productions.
Yeah,
that's a damn shame. Yeah, I'd love to see a good full professional, production of it.
The rain, as we talked about recently, happens in the middle of at the end of Act 1. So they pump the water, like it rains down, and then they've got to clear off that rake stage, which is a stage that slopes. So then obviously the water.
That still
down.
Does my head in from a technical roadie engineering side of it, having to deal with raining on the stage.
Yeah,
knowing what's under there and around there, and what a nightmare to organize. It's like, oh yeah, we want it to rain on stage. Yeah, proper rain.
Yep. I suppose Moses, he noses the shows as it goes and throws us hoses to a commercial break.
Nicely done.
Thank you. Oh, there's a compliment for a change.
Yeah.
G'day listeners, Aaron here.
While you're topping up your coffees, did you know that you can support our show and go on a fantastically scary adventure at the same time? Go to www.thetonistantales.com/bookstore to grab your copy of The Toniston Tales, a darkly funny Aussie trilogy about a young boy who rescues injured animals in his spare time and the roller coaster ride he's taken on by a literal fish out of water. Written by me, the village idiot of Thrash and Treasure, you'll come to love Toniston Turnbull and the dozens of wacky characters that he meets along the way. And here is a sneak peek. After barely 3 hours of light sleep, Toniston Turnbull slowly opens his eyes, his body feeling heavier than it ever has before. Not from extra weight, from tiredness and stress. Polly sighs in the shadows behind him, the flame of the nearest barbed wire tiki torch tower having died down, but not out, while Toniston napped. "Are you awake?" Toniston whispers. "Oh, how can I sleep in this place?" Polly moans, turning onto her side and facing Toniston, who stays on his back, imagining obscure animal-esque shapes in the rusted tin roof above them, shadows faintly formed by the nearest dying torches. "We need to work out a way to get out of here," Toniston states the obvious. He whispers despite the fact the nearest shacks to their own are several meters away, and the occupants presumably asleep, as most prisoners seem to be. "How? There's no fence to squeeze through, or even climb," Polly replies, sitting up in bed and then stretching out her sore arms. The hairs stand on end from the slight chill in the air. "I don't know, but I think the whole fighting thing is a distraction." "You mean to distract the other prisoners when new ones arrive?" "No, I think that was just bad timing. Didn't you notice?" Toniston goes on to explain his theory. "That fight happened, everybody gathered around. I didn't see one person who wasn't watching, and then when I vomited, the only gate in this place closed shut." "What are you trying to say?" "I think something happened when everyone's back was turned." "Like what?" whispers Polly, her voice breaking up in fear. "I don't know. That's what we've got to find out." Toniston's brain starts working overtime, but it's strange that nobody seems to want to leave. They seem almost happy. Definitely content. So, when's the next one of those stupid beatdowns? Toniston can't help but think Polly looks tough, almost evil in the shadows as she asks. "I don't know," Toniston begins. But both teenagers are distracted by a crumbling noise in the distance. Hopping out of bed, Toniston joins Polly on her own, equally uncomfortable one, spotting a large, white package hovering close to the cave ceiling, behind it a shadowy figure. The package is lowered down, causing the teenagers themselves to lower as well, hoping not to be spotted by whom or what may be operating this obscure crane. Over a long, slow descent, the package is dropped to the ground. Polly keeps her eyes on it, but Toniston looks up immediately, spotting a large black shadow scurry away to God only knows where. "Come," he whispers, as he quietly hops off her bed, slipping into his docks with bare feet. Polly follows his lead. Careful to keep watch on all directions, the teenagers swiftly sneak over to the white package, their hearts beating an almost tribal jam in perfect harmony, and stopping in their tracks as the sudden realization of what lies before them sinks in. A woman, seemingly in her early 20s, wrapped up in bandages from the neck down. No, not bandages. "Is that spider web?" Polly asks, completely mortified at the prospect. Grab your copy of The Toniston Tales from thetonistonTales.com/bookstore today. Hooroo! Anyways, we're back with Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron, that's Evan, and we are joined by British stand-up comedian Tiernan Douieb.
Douieb. I feel like there should be a hoiking a loogie in there, like Douieb.
Yeah, it's got a real to it. Yeah,
like Welsh
Yeah, yeah.
or something, Scottish, bit of Scottish in there.
Yeah, what? Where's it from?
Do you? My granddad was French, but I think that's what my cousin reckoned. His parents were Algerian, so that's. But the Tiernan's Celtic. That's a Welsh Irish jam right there.
Yeah, we all got Welsh names, yeah, for no reason really.
Yeah, well, that's it. Mine's for no reason. My parents are called Liz and Brian. I think they were just hippies, and they wanted me to be called something weird. So Yeah, my brother's called Corin. He got really up. He couldn't stand it. So
That's cool. No, Corin's a great name.
I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had issues with it, but he's fine. Fine now.
I got Aaron because my dad had already had 4 other children by then, and I was my mum's third. And my dad was in his 40s. My mum was 36. They opened the baby name book. They saw AARON. Fuck it, we'll just go with that one. And I've been stuck with it ever since.
They went, that's the oldest one. That'll do.
No, they said that's the first one. That's what they said. They didn't bother looking any further than the top of the list.
Well, if we lose him, he'll be easy to find.
But it must have meant you were always like first at registers. Whenever they like called he's in the class and all that, he must have always been like, get it over with.
No.
That's got to be pretty good.
No, because he's a W last name.
W last name. So I was always down the fucking bottom, wasn't I? So what was the point of that?
Yeah, I was always at the end too. Same.
Yeah.
Williams.
Yeah. I know, right? But anyways, do you do any celebrity impersonations?
You did it on a previous pod. I can do a Kermit the Frog, but I think you've done it already. So
yeah, go do
you want me
it.
to do it as well?
Okay, it's Kermit the Frog here. It's not easy being green. Trying to make it through the day when you're the color of the leaves. Oh, how I think it would be nicer being blue or red, or even gold, or something more colorful like that.
That is so much better.
There's the Kermit.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, that's a great Kermit.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
I like doing Drew Barrymore.
Oh, go on.
Oh no, I'd have to practice it because she has this way. It's like, how did she? She's very precious with the way she talks, and she approaches things like, "Oh my God, you guys, you can't believe it. I'm Drew Barrymore." So I'll just sometimes just talk like that for no reason. Or, as we know, Carol Channing, corn. I don't remember having corn.
That's very good.
Thank you very much. Obviously, you do your comedy club for kids. So what has been the best heckling that you've gotten from a kid?
Oh, that's really easy. But there was one. So it's a show at the Edinburgh Fringe. It was a full theatre, and I used to do a stupid thing where I'd get the kids. I'd basically ask the kids like if they knew any rude words, and thinking that they'd say like "poo" or "wee" or something. Well, no, I don't think. But here's the thing, right? There was a kid in the front row once, and he was like 6. He was really small, and my whole joke was that he'd say "poo" or "wee," and I'd go to him, "Oh, I can't believe you said that! Oh, how awful!" And I'd sort of make a big deal of it.
Yeah.
But I said to him, "Got any rude words?" Whisper in my ear, and he just looked me dead in the eyes and really loudly said, "Why are you doing this?" And it just made me look like the biggest stupid asshole. Of my the whole audience absolutely pissed themselves laughing.
Now, hang on, you asked him to say something rude, and he did. He was very impolite to you. So be careful what you wish for with children.
That is true. I was going to say that my favourite. I've always got a quote. There's another comedian called Matt Kirshen who's brilliant, but he once got heckled by a kid at one of our shows. "Why is that your face?" And that's genuinely my favourite ever. Like, that's amazing.
I was watching clips of you, and you were drawing, like doing a drawing of a child and going, "That's you." You know, it's a really quite a childish drawing.
Was that on the Slammer?
Yeah, it was.
I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
Probably was.
It was a fair while ago.
Yeah.
But then you just like draw a mustache on him and go, "That's your dad." And I'm sitting here thinking that could backfire
Yeah,
a little bit.
yeah.
Not everyone there has a dad. It's a bit of a flip of a coin.
I should say I don't do that bit anymore because I realised the very same thing.
Yeah.
Luckily, before yeah.
That's you in 20 years.
Yeah, that's what I should have done. That's you from the future. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, what's been the worst heckling from an adult?
Oh, damn. I don't know if I can say it on this. Can I?
Of course you can.
You'll have to bleep out the C words. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
It was from one of my first ever gigs, the Comedy Store in London, which is quite a famous venue. It was my first ever 5-minute spot there. And I used to do a stupid thing. When I don't know, I didn't have enough jokes, right? And I had this little talking Mr. T key ring, and I'd press it and I'd say like, heckle me and I'll deal with it, but Mr. T would do it. So someone would heckle me and I'd heckle back, and then I'd get Mr. T be like, what was Mr. T say? "Oh, shut up for a bit." "Oh, hilarious." It was really weak material. Anyway, I did this a couple of times. People said like "your shit" or whatever, and I dealt with it. And then the third one, I was like, one more heckle, and this woman stood up in the front row. Comedy Store, packed night, 450 people. I'm nervous, my first gig. This woman stood up and just said, "Suck the blood from my bleeding." you motherfucker.
Oh.
And yeah, and I just went pale. I'd been gigging all of like 8-9 months. And I had no idea. And I was like, I don't even think Mr. T wants to deal with that. I just sort of, that's what I said. They pulled it away. And the audience just completely lost it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. But she said it was such venom. She like looked dead in my eyes and was like, that's for you. It was brutal.
When the audience gets behind a heckler, it's time to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's over. I did ask for the worst heckling, and that to me sounds like it would have been the best. But anyways,
Yeah, well, depends which point of view. From my point, the worst. From hers, definitely pretty expert. Yeah.
For years later, she's going, you remember that time I made that comedian cry?
Yeah, it was good. There was a few sort of quite well-known comics in the audience that night, and they ran backstage to absolutely laugh in my face and go, "That was amazing!" It was quite good. It was a good like initiation into it all. So yeah.
do you give back when you get hecklers, or do you have sort of ammunition to pull
No,
out?
I do. Yeah, it doesn't happen anywhere near as often as people think it does, and a lot of the time it's just people who are so drunk you can't understand what they're saying, so you can really easily win them over. Like it's very rare that it's a good heckle that's been thought through and like. And if it's a genuinely good one, sometimes I'll just give in and go, fair play, that's brilliant. Like, you just have to kind of acknowledge it when it's really good. But it doesn't happen. A lot of people are too afraid of doing it. A lot of people are much better at being in an audience than you'd think. So it's all right.
But like, especially after what happened recently with Chris Rock. Anyways.
Oh, yeah. That was ridiculous.
Yeah. As a comedian, are you worried?
Yeah, I am. I've had someone climb on stage and swing at me before.
Oh,
and,
really?
Well, he heckled me and I dealt with it. And he was on his stag do and he thought that I'd belittled him by making him look like an idiot. So this giant, big Scottish guy who's like 6 foot something, and he got on stage and started swinging at my face, and I had to sort of dodge him and hold the microphone stand to ward him away. And the venue couldn't be bothered to pay for security, so there wasn't any. So his mates had to pull him off stage. And then I was hosting the show. It was right at the beginning of the show, the first 5 minutes. And then he had to sit there until the police could arrive. So he sat there for the whole first act. The whole first act was in silence because everyone in the audience was too freaked out. And the whole first act did 20 minutes in silence. Then I had to take the first act off and then do the interval and then came back on. The guy was still there. And then the police arrived and I was hosting again. It was horrible. Really horrible experience. But I know quite a lot of acts have had all sorts of stuff like that. So it is that thing of, even if the joke wasn't good, don't get on the stage and hit someone. That's our space. Like, piss off.
Yeah, it's just, but the thing is that these people who would hit somebody over a joke would say really horrible things about other people.
Yeah.
And they would expect to get away with that because they're them and I'm allowed to say what I want, but no one's allowed to say that about me. How dare you disrespect? I fucking hate arrogant people. I really do. But anyways, do you write any other genres?
I'm currently writing for a children's animation series in the UK.
Yeah.
For a preschool animation series, and I'm trying to get into basically the I don't know if you know, but in Britain they pretended the pandemic was over long before it was, and it kind of killed off all the comedy for a good 2 years. So I turned my hand to a lot more script writing now. So I'm trying to writing some stuff for animation, which is cool, and trying to get into other things that mean I don't have to leave my house or my pajamas.
What non-comedy or non-entertainment things inspire you?
Oh, non-comedy and non-entertainment things. There's loads of non-comedy stuff that I love. I don't really watch much comedy because I feel like I've just seen enough of it in my life. So
yeah, it's like gynecologists. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I was going to go with baristas, but I think you chose a better. Yeah. But it's exactly that. So I like loads of sci-fi and just dark. I like dark, miserable stuff. So I watch it my time up. It's brilliant. I love loads of music except metal and musicals. You pick like the two genres that I don't listen to, but I listen to loads of other music. And I generally just eat a lot of hot sauce all the time, which I think inspires me because I'm just, while my mouth's on fire, I'm trying to think of other stuff to distract me from it. I think it helps. So yeah, tons of stuff.
Do you know what inspires me?
What?
Going to sleep.
How does that inspire you?
Well, it's always that thing of I have to do something, but then you find something else to do that distracts you from it. So I know I have to sleep. I'm really, really tired. So I lie down, I start working, and 45 minutes later, I've written someone's introduction, or I've written a review, or I've written 10 pages of a novel or something like that. Because I'm meant to be sleeping. That's when I'm most creative, isn't it? So I typically will fall asleep, like even with the light on, shining down on me bright as anything. I will roll over. I don't even bother doing anything. I just roll over and go to sleep. Right? And then I'll wake up and read what I wrote the next day. So yeah, that's what inspires me.
That's really useful. See, I just sort of aim for sleep. I don't get inspired, but I just need it.
Yeah.
And I aim for it, and I get excited about the possibility of it.
Oh,
But
me
that
too.
is, I think, my
Oh,
daughter's
yeah.
4, and I just don't get enough of it in my life. So
Yeah. It's like I tweeted last night, Rocky Horror taught me don't dream it, be it, and I dream of napping. So that's handy.
Living the dream.
That's it. But anyways, now I'm asking this as someone we've known each other for what 10, 11, 12 years now, something like that. How important is diplomacy amongst friends, Tiernan? So if I said a bad joke or put out a bad novel, are you going to tell me that it was shitty? Or are you going to pat me on the head and say, oh, you wrote a novel, Aaron, good on you.
Good for trying.
Where do you get your ideas?
I think it depends on how much it reads, how well I know them, and also
Yeah.
if I've actually read it or not. Because if I haven't, I'll definitely be nice about it.
Yep.
Whereas if I have read it, I'll probably be more constructive.
Yeah.
But like friends whose stuff I definitely haven't read or watched could easily tell by how nice I am about it.
So it's very important, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. It depends on the person, doesn't it? I've got a couple of mates that I don't need it whatsoever with, I think.
Yeah.
But I try and be diplomatic anyway. It's people put a lot of effort into stuff, and everyone's taste is different as well. You think you read it or you watch
yeah.
it or whatever, and you might not. Hey, you know this. This is what your whole podcast is about. You've got all these things you love, and then you present it to each other, and you might not like it. So it's
Yeah.
you know, try and be constructive.
That's it. Try to be
Exactly.
constructive. But even then, I can tell you this is, I'm sure you're the same, that when someone tries to give you a constructive critique, but they completely miss the point of what it was, like they missed the
Yeah.
meaning behind it, and you try to tell them, no, you've completely missed the point, but then they take it personally, like, well, I'm not going to give you any advice, and if you're not going to take it. Now, firstly, advice and critique are not the same thing. And secondly, you can't give me advice if you completely missed the fucking moral of the story. You've gone on your own tangent, your own interpretation. So it is a double-edged sword for one thing. But I think artists, I've said it before, none of us are going to be 100% good every single time. And if you're expecting yourself to be, then go become a baker, but that would burn Evan. Or something that things are exactly the same every time, because it's not in this industry. Every idea will be different.
There's a Will Smith moment coming.
There is. Yeah, have you heard Willow Smith's new song? I smack your face back and forth. I smack your face back and forth. Anyways, I'm moving on. So that's my point, is that I think every artist needs to get over themselves a little bit in that sense. Like, I understand when you put in so much work into something. I don't need to plug my novels again. They are 250,000 words. It took me 14 years. And I have had friends turn to me and say, and they're still on my Christmas card list. Because I'm not
That's
offended by that. The fact that they read it is fucking amazing, because it's more than what my own dad has done. And my mum's response was, where do you get your ideas from? And my response to that is, you're asking me how a brain works. I put all this mythology and language and all at 250 characters or something like that over the 3 novels. There's over 1,000 pages, and you're asking me how a brain works. And I have to not be offended by that, even though it is my mum of all people. I know she's reading it as my mum. Like she's reading like my son wrote this, so she's more mortified,
Yeah.
if anything, than reading it as an audience member. So
Is this you being diplomatic? Is it?
It's always such a weird thing, though. That whole like, where'd you get your ideas from? It's like, well, everything around you. Like,
Mm.
if you don't look at things and get ideas, like if I said, I get my ideas from this other book I've stolen it from, like, you know, what do they expect? It's always like all your input, everything. Like, it's such a weird, nothingy question. Like, where do you get your thoughts from? Where do you get, you know?
Mm.
or what non-comedy, non-entertainment things inspire you, as someone just
Well,
asked
exactly.
you, Tiernan, and now
Well, there you go.
No, I'm
Exactly
kidding.
that.
Yeah, no, it was goodness gracious me. It's just a brain. That's how it works. Anyway,
It's a lack of knowing how to kind of say anything about it, though, isn't it? There's a sort of, it's tricky.
yeah.
It's tricky. Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's not about what you say; it is how you say it.
Yeah, it's also it's part of the job. I had a script recently that I had two different bits of feedback from two different studios. One said it's got too much dialogue in it, and the other one said it's got not enough dialogue in it, and that was their criticisms. And so I came away going, I'll leave it as it is then.
Yeah,
It's obviously got the right amount of dialogue. There
that's
you go.
it. Yeah, it's like a friend who listens to this show, Rich. A shout out to him. He said to me about certain quotes or certain bits of dialogue, you can do much better than that. And that was such a compliment, because he's not saying, well, he is saying that that's bad, right? That's mediocre dialogue, but he's actually saying that I'm able to do much better than that. Like he actually said my
Yeah.
skills are better than that. So when someone says to you, you can do better, that is not tearing you down. That is to boost you up. That is to say that you've got it in your skill sets. It just didn't show up today. You're only as good as your last performance, as we learned with my review. That disaster today. But anyways, we'll move on. Do you ever get writer's block with comedy?
All the time, yeah, all the time. But I just give up. I just give up on it now. I just sort of go, oh, it'll come to me later. I used to stress and go, I need to write stuff, and now I'm like, I'll do something else, and then it will come to you later when you're doing something completely pointless.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I never get it on stage though. Like, it's weird if something happens on stage, you got super brain on stage, and so you can deal with anything. It's weird. It's always off stage.
Yeah. Lastly, what has been the strangest, most obscure comedy gig location? So ever done a gig in like a toilet block, or I don't know,
Oh wow.
a kitchen in Pakistan? I don't know.
No, I haven't. I sort of feel like I've missed out now.
You have.
No. Oh wow, you've really caught me. I've done some. I've done lots of sort of lots of weird little pubs and venues in various countries that I don't think I'd have done gigs. So in sort of deep, like the deep forests of Estonia, I did this very small gig to a bunch of people there, which was quite nuts. Oh, actually, I'll tell you what. This isn't an odd venue really as such.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've done some weird. I've done like a shed, which was quite strange. But I did this gig once in Iceland, right, in this town. So it was in a town hall, so it's not that weird. But it was like right on the kind of west coast of Iceland, and we got there and it wasn't very busy, and I was a bit of a dick, and I kind of said to the promoter, oh, it's not very busy, this doesn't look like a very good gig. And he was like, what do you mean, half the town have come to see you? And that was like, there's so few people there that half of them had come, and it was just only about like 40 something people.
Yeah.
And it was like the most amazing gig, because these people had never seen comedy before in their lives.
Yeah.
So it was properly magical. And there was me being a dick, and there's not many people here. No, this is half of the town. It was incredible. And then as we left, we on the drive home, the Northern Lights happened above us. So we just pulled over and watched it. It was like properly like magical. But that was like amazing, because it was just this tiny little town, like little village in Iceland in the middle of nowhere that I don't think I'd ever have been to if it wasn't for comedy. So that's pretty cool.
And no one thought to bring a small pony.
No, which is so rude, isn't it? So rude. You're right.
Yeah, well, while you're in Iceland, yeah.
They should have just let me have one of them, take it home on the plane.
Tiernan, out of all our past guests, you have indeed been the most recent. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. That's great. Thanks for having me. It's been a joy.
Where can people find you on the social medias?
Spell my name, which is the challenge. And if you can master that challenge, you'll find me everywhere on Twitter at Tiernan Douieb or tiernandouieb.co.uk.
Yep. And
There you
you don't be a dick and pronounce every vowel. I could get away with that because, and everyone knows that I'm horrible. So, anyways, anything to plug? Have you got any comedy gigs coming up? Obviously, your podcasts.
Well, my podcast is all British politics. No one's going to care about that. It's partly political broadcast if you really want to see how crap everything is here.
Yep.
And then I do a kids podcast called Radio Nonsense, which is really joyful and we answer children's questions, myself and other comedians, in the most unhelpful, stupid way. So that's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome. That's right. People can find you on PayPal, bro, and people can hit me up on PayPal, bro. Anyways, to you guys at home, you take care, and we shall see you next time. Hooroo!
It was great. It was nice to see Vegemite Trippy. It was fun.
Like quicksand!